ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सागण रघुनाथान्वितं सतं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णापादान् सागणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चना गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य ईश्वरं गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we are reading Nectar of Instruction, first verse. This is our second session on it. So let's recite this verse a few times. And some of you are almost there. Namita Mataji has almost memorized it. So hopefully we can fix it in the mind. Let's recite it a few times. So let's do lead and follow for the first one, and then we'll recite it together. We'll take turns, okay? Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam. Please everyone recite.
Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam
Jiva vegam udarupastha vegam.
Jiva vegam udarupastha vegam
Etan vegan yo vishet dhira.
Etan vegam yo
धीरः सर्वामपि मां पृथिवीं सशिष्ययात्
सर्वामपि मां पृथिवीं सशिष्यात्
Okay, somebody else lead and we'll follow.
Vacho vegam vegam
Vacho vegam manasa vegam
Jiva vegam arupastha vegam
Jiva vegam udarupastha vegam Itan
Anyo vishet dhira
Etan vegam dhira
Sarvam apimam prithvim sasishyayat
Sarvamapi mam prithvim sasishyat.
Okay, Vedi, you wanted to recite?
Mataji. Vacho vegam mansakrodha vegam
Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam
Jiva vegam udarupastha vegam
Jiva
Jiva vegam
udarupastha
udarupastha vegam
Etan veganyo vishaheta dhiraha
Etan vegan yo vishaheta dhiraha
Sarvam api mam prithivim sashishyat
Sarvam
Sarvam
apimam
api mam
prithvim
prithvim
sashishyayat.
sasishyat.
Let's do couple more times. When somebody is leading, please stay quiet. So control the speech. Vachovegam, first principle. So control the speech, stay quiet. Because that person is leading, so we can hear their recitation, their pronunciation, and try to imitate it exactly. So who wants to?
Shall I, Mataji?
Okay, sure. Okay, Ravi Prabhu and then Namita Mataji will do twice more and then we'll start.
Vacho vegam mansa krodha vegam
Vachovegam manasakrodha vegam
Jiva vegam udar upastha vegam
Jiva vegam udarupastha vegam
Etan vegan yo vishet dhiraha
Etan vegan yo vishahet dhira
Sarvamati mam prithvim sasishyat
Sarvamapi mam prithvim sashishayat. Okay,
Hare
Namita
Krishna.
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Vacho vegam manasa krota vegam
Vacho
Vacho
vegam
vegam mansa
manasakrodha
krodha
vegam
vegam
jiva vegam udaro vegam
Jiva
Jiva
vegam
vegam
udarupastha
udarupastha
vegam
vegam
etan vegan yo visaheta dira
Etan
Etan
vegan yo
vegan yo
vishet
vishet
dhira
dhira
sarvam api mam prithvim sasisya
Sarvamapi
Sarvamapi
mam
mam
prithvim
prithvim
sashishayat.
sasishyat.
Hari bol. Thank you everyone for reciting. Any last takers or should we move on?
Yes, can I try?
Yes.
Vajo vegam mansa krodha vegam
Vacho
Vacho
vegam
vegam mansa
manasakrodha
krodha
vegam
vegam
jiva vegam udropastha vegam
Jiva
Jiva
vegam
vegam udar
udarupastha
upastha
vegam
vegam
itan vegam yo vidhyasta dhira
Etan
Etan
vegan
vegan yo
yo
vishahet
visaheta
dhira
dhira
sarvam api mam prithvi sashichyat
Sarvam
Sarvamapi
api
mam
mam prithvim
prithvim
sasishyat.
sashishayat.
Hari bol.
Hari bol.
Hari bol.
Okay, let's read this. Who wants to read the translation? Namita Mataji, want to read?
Yes, Mataji. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. Hari bol.
Hari bol. So just a quick breakdown again. So Vacho Vegam. So this is Nectar of Instruction or Updeshamrit written by Rup Goswami. We are doing first verse. So this is starting from the very basics of devotional service. Very basics, the fundamental aspects of self-realization. So the path of self-realization starts from sense and mind control. Body, senses, mind control. Okay, word control. Body, mind, and word control. So Rup Goswami is giving us 6 things or 6 urges to control. Urge here is written as vague. So in Sanskrit, the word vague is used for something like a very strong demand or very strong imposition caused by the body, mind, or words. So vague means a very strong desire, very strong, uncontrollable urge. So that's called vague. So that's why vague word keeps repeating. And 6 vegas or 6 desires, 6 uncontrollable urges are mentioned here that one needs to control when starting on the path of self-realization. So the first is vacho vegam, meaning controlling the speech. Vach, vak means speech. Usko control karna. That is vacho vegam. Manasa is mind. Krodha is anger. So these three, Vacho, Manasa, and Krodha, speech, mind, and anger. Jiva is the urge of tongue, urge caused by tongue. Udar is stomach. So what do you, how much do you eat? What quantity of food you eat? That is Udar. Jiva means what do you eat? What quality of food do you eat? And Upasth means genitalia or genitals. So the urges of the genitals. So these 6 urges need to be controlled. We are taking different devotees who are presenting on each of these urges. We have already discussed mind, tongue, stomach, and genitals last time. We have not read Prabhupada's purport yet, and we have not discussed this in detail, but we have different devotees presenting their understanding about these topics. So today we'll discuss about Vacha Vegam and Krodha Vegam. And I also have some slides we'll try to cover. And probably will extend to next time also on this verse, because this is the most important verse. If we can do this, the verse is saying that if you can control these 6 urges, that person is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So that person becomes a Swami. The person who can control the urges of their body, mind, and words has basically become a Swami, a master. That's why renounced people are often referred to as Swami. Prabhupada was lovingly called Swami by all his disciples when he came to US. And so the word Swami means master. So somebody who has mastered the urges of his body, mind, and words. And only that person is qualified to preach, to make disciples. So this is very important for us. That's why we'll spend some time on it. So let's see. Any devotees, Ravi Prabhu or anyone else has prepared on a little bit to speak?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Mataji, I
Okay.
can speak for the Vacho Begum as you assigned.
Yes, Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, as I was given the topic on the urge to speak, the Vacho Begum. So I have prepared little bit on it and I'll try my best and please tolerate if I make any mistake. And whatever I'm going to say, it's just basically what I have heard from all the senior acharyas and guru and from reading. Nothing is coming from my own side. So in this, we understand the urge to speak. Why, as Mataji was explaining, urge is like urgency. So when we have this urge, it is different from the desire. Sometimes we have a desire, but that can be postponed. Like I have a desire to go to Himalaya or go to Amarnath, but that is still postponed. But when it says urgency, it becomes like urgent. People wants to do it right away. So that is the why our Rupa Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami has put these urges together and right in the beginning. And as we have noticed in the sloka, the Vacho Vegam comes first. So, and then another Vegam like Mansa Vegam and Krodha Vegam and so on. So maybe that I heard from one of the acharyas saying that maybe that the Vacho Vegam is underestimated. People don't talk about the Vacho Vegam as much as we talk about the other Vegam like food and the mind. So he maybe wanted to emphasize that how important the Vacho Vegam is. So to understand that, we can see in ourselves, in our life, like speech is a very important tool, and I'm being a speech therapist, I actually have understood how speech is important for everyone, because speech is the tool which let us communicate our inner thoughts, our needs, our comments. So if somebody who don't have a speech, it becomes really too much of a handicap and too much of impairment, and that leads to so many problems. But then we have been given this power of speak and express our thing, but are we really using this power to like elevate ourselves, elevate our consciousness, or are we just talking? So in that, I'll start with one is simple joke that I heard also in the lecture, that there was one doctor and one devotee went to see that doctor, and he saw that doctor had so many thermometers on his table. So he asked the doctor, Doctor, you use only one thermometer per patient and you only see one patient at a time. Why do you have so many thermometers in your table? So he says, Indeed, I do see one patient at a time and I only use one thermometer at a time. But the reason is I keep so many thermometers because when these all my patient comes in the waiting room, they make so much noise that I can't concentrate on my work. So when they start coming in the waiting room, I tell my nurse to go and put the thermometer in each of their mouth. And they have to keep the thermometer in the mouth till they come and see me. When they come and see me, then I basically take out the thermometer because they have to tell me what are their symptoms and so on. So jokes apart, so this is what we say, like when we have, so what it said, like even in the Bhagavatam, um, in the Bhagavatam, Vavduta, he says that he has learned from this whole entire cosmos, and there are 24 gurus, and one of the gurus that he learned was one of the girl who was unmarried girl, and so people used to go and see and propose for the marriage. So once this person went, the girl was alone and she didn't have any help that time, but she used to have so many bangles in her hand. So she wanted to give a good impression because she welcomed the guest and went inside in the kitchen and started preparing some prasadam. But when she was preparing the prasadam, her bangles were making so much of noise. So she thought that if the guest hear this, they would think that I don't have any help, and I'm well. They won't know that I'm well-to-do person. So in order to give a good impression, she was not actually in the rich category person. She had like no help, but she wanted to just create that scene that she has a person. So she took out all her bangles, but she left two bangles in each hand and started cooking. Still, that two bangles were making the noise. Then finally, she took one bangle out from each hand and then cooked and prepared the prasadam and served the devotee. So the Avduta learned that even when there are two bangles together, they make noise. So and also we have seen whenever two people come together, two or more people, as soon as we come together, we start speaking. So this urge to speak is very it's like it's built in. We want to speak, but then we have to know what are we speaking. Are we speaking just the nth number of topics which is there in the material world, or are we speaking Krishna Katha, or are we speaking some spiritual science of realization? So even in the Nectar of Instructions, Prabhupada mentions one of the example for this. If we don't speak, that is enhancing our consciousness, or which is talking about the science of self-realization or Krishna Katha, Nam, Roop, Gun, then we will speak all the nonsense. So he is comparing speaking nonsense to in the rainy season, we have so many toads who comes out and start croaking. So when the toad starts croaking, the toad thinks that his croaking sound is very melodious and he keeps on going and going. But actually what he does is inviting his death, because when the snake is there, they'll hear the sound and they come and they eat the toad. So what we understand from here is if we talk nonsense, we have a limited time and limited energy. So that time and energy we are wasting without even knowing that I'm actually going close to the death. Because at the end, we all have a limited, breath given to us. So if we just want to speak, why not speak and get the self-realization and understand the Krishna and you know, try to basically enhance our consciousness. So that's one of the example Prabhupada mentioned about the toad. Like, when we want to speak something which is going to help us rather than which is just going to give us the wasting the time and energy. And also, if we see, Krishna has given us 2 ears and one mouth. What it means, like he wants us to talk half the time and only listen, like 2 times listening and 1 time talking. But in real world, if we see, people just wants to talk, and when it comes to listening, we are not listening. So even in the other Bhagavatam Katha, I'm not able to quote all the quotation here because, but Narad Muni had mentioned that, pilgrimage of the crow, because when the materialistic people come together, they talk. That is given an example of like a crow going for a pilgrimage, like only like it has no, it's all filthy talk, it's all unnecessary talk. It's just going to, because it's not even related to me. Like if I'm talking to somebody which is not even related to me, I can talk about the politics, but the politics has nothing to do in my own life. I have something else to do, but I can spend talking on politics, talking on game. So basically what Narad Muni says, that's called the pilgrimage of crow. When the crow get together, when they crow, they will always find a filthy place to be there, even if it is a nice garden. But if there's some filthy spot, they will not go around nice flowers. They will just go to that filthy spot. So then then it comes to a point, then okay, we have to speak, and this can be like, there can be extreme also. Either we are talking too much, or then we can have a silence. So but the Prabhupada also mentions that silence is not a practical thing, because God gave us a speech power, and that has to be used. We can't just maintain a silence and not use that tool. So then the question arises, in this material world, what are we going to talk if we have to talk? Because this is an important tool, and all of us will talk. So um, basically, the Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, in the austerity of his speech, the Bhagavad Gita 17th chapter and 15th sloka, that anudvekaram vakyam satyam priyam hitam chayat swadhyayabhyasanam chaiva vangmaya tapa uchyate. So he is telling us that if we have to speak, we have to follow certain parameters, and that will basically qualify us to improve our consciousness, and also help us to communicate with the people that we want to communicate with. So in these parameters, the important one is called beneficial. Like, it's like anudvek. Anudvek is like you don't agitate people. You should not speak which is agitating. And then satyam, which is true. Priyam is pleasing, and hitam is beneficial. And also the fifth one is like swadhyaya and abhyasanam, means we read the scriptures and practice them in our daily life. So among all these 5 parameters, as we have, as I heard from all the lectures, the beneficial part is the topmost one. We want to speak to somebody when it is beneficial to that person or to that group or to that society. If it is not beneficial, even if it is truthful, we should basically put a break and say, okay, it's not going to help. So that is in the material world. When we have to speak, we want to use these parameters. And otherwise, when we are using the other form of spiritual talk, like a Krishna Katha, Krishna Bhajan, whenever we are in the association of devotee, which is mentioned by Narad Muni as like the swan pilgrimage, like they will always find the nice flower, nice river. And so when we are in association and when we are talking, we should use our power of speech to glorify the Krishna's name, his form, his gun, his pastimes, his lila, then do the kirtans, and that way, and recite the mantras, recite the sloka, read scriptures. So that way we are using our power that Krishna gave us to elevate our consciousness And at the same time, when we have to carry out our daily living, when we get out in the material world, if we follow the 5 parameters of Krishna that he gave us as a form of austerity of speech or culture of speech, then we will also be carrying out our own daily activities and won't basically मैं अपने consciousness को गंदा नहीं करेंगे. It will just improve the consciousness also, and at the same time we won't have many people that will like we will always have a good relation, so that will help us to even carry out our daily responsibility that is given to us by Krishna. And whenever we get in association of people, we should just focus on katha kirtan. So this is what I have to say about the urges of speech, because the speech is very powerful. We can't maintain silence. Yes, we can have some mom once in a while. That is recommended when we are in a family. When two people in a family, like husband and wife, daughter and father, if somebody is agitated, the other person, if they maintain silence, that is the austerity. Because if the both person starts talking, it's not going to help. But otherwise, silence is not recommended. We should use our power to glorify Krishna as much we can. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you, Mataji, for giving me the opportunity.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, this was perfect description of Vachovegam. Thank you so much. Such wonderfully you spoke. Very nice. I really liked some points. I was jotting down some wonderful points you made. Many points you made, but I'll just highlight a few. So I really like the fact that you said it's an urgency. All these things are an urgency, immediate need to address. And they can either downgrade us, degrade us, or elevate us towards Krishna consciousness. These are all tools. All these senses are a tool. They're a resource given to us. So instead of not using them, it's better to use them positively in such a way that they upgrade, they elevate our consciousness, they take us higher towards our goal of going back to Godhead. And you made a point of if we are just wasting these resources and using them in a negative way, then we are wasting time and energy. So like speech, you're just wasting time and energy. And they can be very destructive, like using them in a bad way can be very destructive actually. It also made me think of how when these senses, these are used as a tool in a positive way in fulfilling our goal, then they help us. But if we let them control us, then they overpower us and we become their slave. So we have a choice. We can either become their slave or we can become their master. They can become our strength, where we use them as our strength, as our tool, as a resource in taking us back to Godhead. So I really like that point you were making. And I really like the joke, the stories, the reference from Srimad Bhagavatam about pilgrimage of crows. Very nicely said. Anything other than Hari Katha is said to be pilgrimage of crows. Like crows come and make this harsh noise, which is very unpleasant to hear. And that's what people are doing in this world. Also, the point about mourn, that mourn means not using the speech at all. So that's recommended. That has to be used at certain times, like you said, at home or in certain places you should maintain silence. It's better if you can't speak anything positive, then it's better to not speak at all. That's where it's useful, but not in a way impersonalist or Mayavadis use mourn, that I won't speak anything at all, I won't use my tongue at all. That's not needed. We should speak, and we should speak Harikatha. We should speak pleasant, beautiful conversations that help to upgrade a relationship, that help to build communities, societies. Speech has so much power. It can start wars, it can start revolutions, it can on the power of speech, so many dictators have ruled uh, the world, their countries. So speech is very powerful. We'll discuss Prabhupada's purport also, but we'll go to the next presentation. Yes, Prabhuji.
I have one thing, Mataji, that it just came to mind. Like everything else, speech can also be classified in the 3 modes: speech in the ignorant mode, and passion mode, and the goodness mode. So as Mataji rightly said, that when we are having the speech in the passion mode, we motivate the people, and sometimes like our dictator have used this power of speech, and they put people in the very passion mode, and they did what they wanted to do. And in the ignorant mode, always like, if we are cursing, fault finding, criticizing, negative criticizing, goes in the negative, ignorant mode is speech. And the goodness mode is speech when we are trying to do all this kind of, the bhakti that goes beyond the goodness, that is like transcendental is speech. But in the goodness mode, when we are using for our daily business, like using the parameters and trying to communicate and get the work done. So that's also, speech has been modified, like classified in these three modes.
Very cool. Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. Shiva Prasad Prabhu has, Surya Prabhu has shared, God gave us mouths that close and ears that don't. That must tell us something. Very nice. Rightly said. Okay, Vedahi, please go ahead. So Vedahi is speaking about anger. So before you speak, I just wanted to point out one thing in the verse. So the 6 urges that have been told, Vacho Vegam, Manasa, Krodha, Jiva, Udarupast. Jiva, Udarupast are bodily urges, okay? So they harm us, like what you're putting in the body, how much you're eating, what you're eating, and misuse of genitals, all that harm you, your body. But the 2 topics that we are discussing today, speech and anger, are such that can harm others also, that can harm your relationship with others, that has the power to cause destruction to others, to society, to community. So a lot of times we see that somebody said something on Twitter, on Facebook, and then there were people rising against them. How did they say this? So we have a responsibility on what we speak, and all these are mediums of speech. Prabhupada also talks about this in purport, that the books, the literature, the newspaper, this is your expression, your speech actually, because what you're speaking through them, you're speaking through the Twitter, through Facebook, through social media. So you have to be very careful of what you say, because that can affect other people. What you eat, what or how much you eat, all that is actually affecting you mostly. So that is why Vak and Krodh, those 2 things are actually directed at other people mostly. And so even more responsibility to control those, because you're causing damage to others actually. So I just wanted to highlight that, why I wanted to spend separate session on these 2 topics. Okay, please go ahead, Vaidehi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So mine is kind of a smaller explanation. So I just so in Bhagavad Gita 2.69, which is a continuation of 2.68, Krishna says that Krodhat bhavati sammoha smriti vibhrama smriti bhramshad buddhi nashat pranashyati. From your anger, delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment arises. And then from your delusion, after you get bewildered, your memory gets lost, and then you fall into the material world again. So Prabhupada says that when you get angry, you kind of, it's very irrational. You can't really stop it from occurring once it started, but you can definitely control the amount of your anger, especially if you're engaging in Krishna consciousness. You can control your anger even though it can't be fully stopped. So you can use your anger in a more Krishna conscious way, similar to how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was angry with Jagai Madhai for misbehaving with Nityanand Prabhu. So he didn't let them off the hook for that, because Nityanand Prabhuji is a devotee, and when if you see somebody mistreating or misbehaving with another devotee, then you have a right to get angry because they're mistreating Krishna's devotee. And so you can always defend that person. And so anger can be it cannot be stopped, but it can be redirected or utilized in something spiritual. Hanuman was angry at Ravan for kidnapping Sita, so he burned down Lanka, but he's still Ramji's biggest devotee. So that shows us that anger can be controlled whenever it's used in the service of the Lord. Yeah. Hare Krishna. You're muted, Mataji.
I was saying Hari Bol, very nice. Very nice. And you gave examples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Hanumanji. I'll just say a little bit more about anger, and then I think I'll just launch into these slides also from here. So Krodha Vegam, anger, the way I look at it, a couple of things to understand is, number one, is when you get angry, think of where the anger is coming from. Is it because, and I'm speaking for my purification, so please don't, nobody take it personally. Remember that all of us have these faults. Some of us, anger is probably the most common fault that everybody has. So nobody should think that I'm speaking to anyone, one specific person. I'm speaking for myself. So that's a declaration before launching into this first verse, because this verse, we all have all these faults to a certain degree. Somebody has more problem with controlling tongue. Somebody has more problem with anger. Some with speech. Different levels everybody is, and they all know their own level better than anybody else. So you take whatever you can take from these descriptions and try to purify yourself. I'm trying to purify myself. So anger, first of all, think where it is coming from. Is it because of some personal slight, some personal insult? Is it because somebody said something about me to me? Like, is it very much about me? If it is about you, then you should try to control that anger. Okay. So that's the first important rule with anger. If it is just because of some personal slight or egoistic insult or some small, disturbance to your ego, to your personal interest, then we should try to control that type of anger. We should restrain that anger, because that is just a provoking situation. And there are so many seminars on how to tolerate the provoking situations, right? So that is just a provoking situation in which one has to exhibit tolerance and tolerate it, and not exhibit anger, because it is very personally oriented. Somebody said something to you, okay? So do not, in that case, you do not react, but try to respond in a calm, sober way. Okay. Is this a feedback? Is this a criticism? Is this a fault that somebody has found in me, and I should, instead of defending, should I try to really fix that fault? So remember the 4 sutras that we learned here, without defending. So maybe somebody said something, found a fault in you, and you suddenly blow up, you get angry. Oh, how dare they found a fault in me? How dare they find a fault in me? So that kind of anger is not needed. That is you can say a criticism, a feedback given to you, a fault finding by other person, something negative they pointed out in you, some personal, or it was, let's say it was even completely unwarranted. It was some type of insult against you, but it was a personal insult. It was a personal slight against you, your ego, your pride. Okay. Those things one should try to tolerate. Okay, we should see who is giving that insult, who is that person, do they have a right, do they have, and try to either ignore, try to tolerate, try to refrain, and come up with a response rather than a reaction. Okay, don't just blow up, don't just react. So come up with a response, stay sober, stay calm, don't get agitated in that situation. So that's the first thing to understand about anger, that all our scriptures mention unanimously we should be tolerant. Okay, tolerate provoking situations. Then the second aspect of anger is, if you do have to get angry, if you do need to get angry because it is for the benefit of a larger purpose, larger goal. Okay, let's say angry as in, let's say I'm a mother, I get angry at my child, or I'm a teacher, I get angry at my student, or I'm a doctor, I get angry at my patient because he's not taking the medicine properly, like I recommended. Or I'm a doctor, I get upset at my nurse because she did the wrong thing. She provided wrong care, and that can cause very bad damage. So I do need to get angry because I'm in an authoritative position, or I'm a boss and I need to get angry with my employees. So in all these situations that I've described, I'm in an authoritative, responsible position in which I do actually need to get angry, because it will be irresponsible to not get angry in those situations. But now, how do I get angry also matters. I need to get angry in a very controlled way. Okay. So think about the example given is, when you are cooking the food, you don't turn the knob of the stove completely high because it will burn the food, right? Pura tez nahi kar dete, it will burn the food. You have to have your finger on the knob and control it in such a way that it's medium or mild, depending on how much the food needs to be cooked, because your goal is to cook the food. So in this situation where you are in a responsible position, authoritative position, you are angry because somebody did something wrong. You have to make an authoritative stand. You have to convey your point and fix the problem. In that situation, you do have to get angry, but in a way, also in a controlled, sober way. Okay, not like flying off the handle and screaming and yelling and getting red in the face. No, in a very sober way, you have to give that feedback. You have to make a correction. You have to have your finger on the pulse. बोलते हैं ना, finger on the pulse. How much does this person need? What is the nature of that person? Since you are an authority to that person, you know that that person may not be able to take too much. They may get upset very quickly. They may, so the food may get burnt in another ways. The food may get burnt. The point is to cook the food, not get it burnt. So have your hand on the knob and regulate your anger. So if your anger is controlled by you, then again, it becomes a strength. Any of these urges, when they are controlled by you, they become your strength. When they're uncontrolled, they become your weakness. Then they overpower you. Then you become their das. You become their slave. You become their victim. The goal is to not become the victim or slave of these urges, but to overpower them and to have your handle on them. Have your handle on the anger. Okay. And the third point that Vedhi mentioned in detail was about the transcendental anger. The Lord's anger is transcendental. Lord's anger is divine. When he punishes us, or like as Narasimhadev, he punishes Hiranyakashipu. So Lord's anger benefits everyone. It does not destroy anyone. Our anger, when we fly off the handle completely, without any regard to the position, to the person, to the situation, to who is present, how would that affect that person? Without any regard to that, when we just fly off the handle, that destroys, that is destructive. Whereas Lord's anger is constructive. It is actually said that if you have a problem with anger, where you tendency to just go in a rage, then you should hear Narasimhadev's pastimes actually. Because by hearing Narasimhadev's transcendental anger, actually your own inferior type of anger, this tamasic anger that you have, gets eradicated, that gets removed. So the one of the cure, because you see, oh my God, what right do I have to get angry? When Lord Narasimhadev, he has a right to get angry. He's an absolute authority. He's the absolute supreme person, the absolute truth. He can get angry. He can punish the offenders. So transcendental anger means divine anger used by very advanced devotees or by Supreme Lord to fix the offenders. So when Krishna says, I come to annihilate the demons, and he kills Putana or Trinavrata or Shaptasura, all this anger can be exercised by Lord or very, very advanced devotees who have the authority given directly by the Lord to exercise anger. Okay, Arjun and Hanuman. Now, I cannot say I'm going to start punishing people because they are offenders. Who am I to say I'm an offender and start acting like Arjuna or Hanuman, and I'm start going to burn the, because terrorists can use this point. Terrorists can say, oh, our anger is very righteous. Our anger is very divine and transcendental. And that's why we are going to burn somebody's temple. So that means does that burning our temples makes it right? No. So this type of transcendental anger can only be exercised not by people, new people, sadhakas like us who are just trying to purify themselves. Our anger typically tends to be tamasic, and we are just trying to get to a level of mode of goodness where we use it in a constructive way. That's all. We cannot use our anger to start punishing people that we don't know anything about. You cannot do that. So just again, something to understand, that transcendental anger we read about in scriptures, but we do not have much right to exercise it, because we are not like surrendered souls under the direct control of Supreme Lord. So now smaller situations can arise in our circles where somebody is an offender against devotees. So then three you can say solutions are given. Okay, let's say somebody is standing right in front of me and he's blaspheming Prabhupada, or he's blaspheming Krishna, or he's blaspheming our scriptures. Okay, what should I do? I am not a surrendered soul, right? I am a very much in the process of purification, transformation, very low in the ladder. So what should I do? So I have some solutions that our acharyas give. One, you can leave the place. Do not hear the blasphemy of the devotees of the scriptures of the Lord. You can leave the place. That anybody and everybody can do. Okay, number one. Number two, if you think you can make some sound arguments against their blasphemy in a sober, calm way, you have strong authority on scriptures, you can present your argument in a very pleasant, authoritative way, then you should do so. So you should present the scriptures and you should try to refute their blasphemy in such a way if possible. That's number two. Number three, I don't even want to tell you because that's not applicable. Number three is, if you are standing there hearing blasphemy, it is recommended to commit suicide, which is not applicable. So that's you. So that is how horrible hearing the blasphemy of Lord or devotees is. If you're just standing there hearing, either you can refute it, you have the strength. That's why we should become strong in scriptures and try to make ourselves solid, sound in our knowledge of scriptures, so we can refute the other person in a and purify yourself in such a way that you can refute without fighting, without making it an argument, or you should be able to convert or transform the other person's heart. If you don't think you have that power, then leave the room. Okay. Also, if this is somebody under your care, under your shelter, under your authority, you're their authority, like another devotee who's on a lower level, who's blaspheming other devotees and things like that, you can always try to fix the problem yourself, or you can refer them to senior devotees. So this is how you can control your anger. But transcendental anger has to be we have to be very careful. It is typically not in our realm to exercise transcendental anger. The other ones, our main concern is to not be in tamasic anger, where we fly out of completely in rage. So much rage is there, like people are, road rage, people are taking gun and they just enter in public establishments and start killing people. All that is out of uncontrolled tamasic rage. So that we have to have a better handle on. Hari bol. Yes, Surya Prabhu, please share.
No, just a question, Mataji, or basically a suggestion for me.
Yes.
And I will be completely honest, my anger sometimes comes and then it's always momentary. But at that point of time, it is actually falls under the tamasic anger, right? I mean, not that I'm an angry person. It basically comes at a moment of spur of moment, but it dies down. I even forget why I was angry in the first place. How do I control that?
Roji, one word for you. Pause. Take a pause. Stop. Just ruk jaiye. So this is something I've heard many times. You have to take a pause. You can chant. You can decide. Chant 5 Hare Krishna Mahamantra, 2 Hare Krishna Mahamantra, something. But take a pause. And Prabhuji, I also have same problem. I think most of us have the same problem. We are a work in progress. We are trying, but at least we are struggling. We're all struggling. So you're not the only one in the struggle. But taking a pause, stopping for a few minutes, think of your Aradhya deity if you want, your deities at home, will they be pleased? Chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. If you have the bead bag handy, put your hand inside the bead bag, something like that. But take a pause. And if you don't respond at that minute, if you don't react at that for those few minutes, it will pass. It's like an urge, it will pass.
Thank you.
Namita Mataji is sharing something. Yes, Mataji.
Mataji, the same thing with me. Like I have this problem, and I realize it, and that's what exactly I've been doing is just chanting. That really helps me. Like immediately, I feel it that I'm getting there, and I start chanting, and that has helped me a lot. I just start chanting Hare Krishna and just think about Gaurnitai, how they would want me to act, and that has helped me. It's a work in progress, doesn't go right away, but chanting definitely has helped in the moment for sure.
Thank you, Mataji, for sharing your personal experience. We'll definitely start implementing it. Okay, let me just discuss this quickly, the whole a few aspects of this verse. So I told you about we discussed about these 6 urges. Okay, so in Bhagavad Gita, and I'm going to flip back and forth between Bhagavad Gita because Bhagavad Gita is our primary book. Okay, it has already mentioned, Bhagavad Gita has already mentioned all these things. We are just now reinforcing this more, emphasizing this more. So in Bhagavad Gita 2.54, Arjuna had asked Krishna, what is the symptoms of the one whose consciousness is merged in transcendence? How does he speak? What is his language? How does he sit? How does he walk? So Arjun is not only asking about internals of that person. This verse, Vacho Vegam, is talking about externals, our externals, right? How do we speak? How do we talk? What do we eat? What do we say to other people? How do we sit? All this is addressed in the first few verses of Nectar of Instruction. That's why I like this book so much, because the first few verses will talk about our externals. We always say that internals matter. Internals are the ultimate. Internals, your intention, your focus, your attention, your intention to purify yourself, your devotion to the Lord, all those matters. But externals also matter. Okay, externals also matter, especially in building a spiritual community, in relationship building. Since we are trying to build a solid spiritual community in this area, right? We want association. ABCD. A is association. Association of devotees will be congenial if everybody is on the same page, how to behave with each other, what are our externals. So that's why we are getting fixed in our externals. Okay, internals bhi धीरे धीरे बदलेंगे, but externals बदलने भी जरूरी हैं. Okay, so that's why Arjun is asking about externals in this question. Sthit pragyasya ka bhasha. स्थित प्रज्ञा is a sober person. Sober person की क्या भाषा है, वो कैसे बोलता है, वो कैसे रहता है, कैसे चलता है, क्या खाता है, क्या करता है. Arjun is asking this. So we have to become a sthit pragya, sober person. So I'm just bringing you back to Bhagavad Gita to remind you that Arjun also wanted to know the externals. And then we talked about 6 urges. 6 urges are broadly divided into body, mind, and words. Rup Goswami has taken the Vacho Vegam first. Vacho is speech. Manasa and Krodha, both are mind. Okay, both are coming from mind. Even anger is coming from mind. Okay, anger is coming from mind. It is a urge of the mind. Okay, and the last 3, Jiva, Udar, Upasth, these 3 are bodily urges. Okay, these 3 come from the body. So body, mind, and words. Body, mind, and word make our complete existence within which soul is trapped. Body, mind, and words. So तीनों को control करना सिखाया है रूप गोस्वामी ने, how to control all these 3. Now you would think, oh, you always talk about hearing Lord's name, fame, qualities, pastimes, but this is not talking about any of those. This has nothing to do with direct devotion. Do you all agree? This is nothing to do with direct devotion, right? So why are we talking about this so much? So I've put a picture here. These are the pictures. This is the picture of Jagannath Ji's temple, of the steps. You see the steps? These steps are very famous. These steps lead to the temple of Jagannath Puri. Okay. These steps are called Baisi Pacha, 22 steps. They lead to the Jagannath Puri temple. So these first few verses of Nectar of Instruction, especially the first verse, is not direct bhakti. It is not the direct darshan of the Lord, but these are the steps leading up to bhakti. So even to get darshan of the Lord, you have to climb the stairs, the steps of the temple to get the darshan of the Lord. भगवान के दर्शन के लिए भी steps climb करके दर्शन मिलते हैं. So you have to climb these steps of initial purification of body, mind, and words to get the darshan of the Lord. So we cannot say, okay, I'll just start chanting the name, form, qualities, pastimes of the Lord, but will not purify myself. Those things will purify, no doubt. But we still have to intentionally make an effort to climb the steps of the temple before we get the darshan of the Lord. So those things will purify. Bhagwan ka naam, roop, gun, leela will purify, no doubt. But we still have to make an intentional effort to go to the temple and to climb the steps of the temple, and then we get the darshan of the Lord. So these are the steps that lead to bhakti. Okay, so that's why steps of the temple are as important, because otherwise you cannot get to the darshan of the Lord. So these points are important. Then this is the famous example of the chariot. Everybody knows this. Can somebody quickly tell me this chariot analogy? This is given in Bhagavad Gita, and this is originally given in Kathopanishad, but it is mentioned in all our scriptures, the analogy of chariot. Who knows? What is the chariot? Who's the passenger? Who's the driver? All this.
I can try, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu.
In the chariot example in Bhagavad Gita, it is explained the horses are our five senses, like sense organs, that five senses, and the reins जो उसको पकड़ के रखते हैं, that is our the mind. No, that is our the intelligence. The five horses are the senses, and the reins that holds them is our intelligence.
Mind.
And the
reins is the mind.
reins is the mind, and the person who is holding it is the intelligence. And then the whole chariot is our whole body.
Yes. Yes, Prabhuji. And the owner, the passenger of the chariot, the main person who's going in that chariot is the soul. That's the main
soul.
person.
Yes.
So this is a very famous example of the chariot. Chariot is our body. So this body is just a vehicle for the soul to travel, right? But the owner of that chariot, the main passenger in that chariot who's sitting in the chariot is the soul. And so we have to take that soul to the soul has to go to the right destination. So everybody needs to work together to take that soul to the right destination. The intelligence, the mind and senses have to work correctly. The body, intelligence, mind and senses. So that is why we are learning about how the body, mind, words, intelligence needs to act about the to take the soul to the right destination. And this is if on my screen you can see, this is the correct order of control. The soul or the passenger should tell the charioteer, the intelligence, where to go. Intelligence is the charioteer, the driver. So the passenger will tell the driver, go to this place, go to the gas station, let's say. So the driver or the intelligence needs to comply. Then intelligence will control the mind and mind will control the senses. This is the correct order. This is the order in which Goswamis operate. This is in which Sthit Pragya, sober person, operates in this order. The soul controls intelligence, intelligence controls mind, mind controls senses. But in our case, in the senses are uncontrolled, the intelligence is dull. Okay, senses are overactive and intelligence is not active enough. It is dull. It is not sharp enough. Okay, so what is happening is the order is reversed. So iska ulta arrow laga ke dekh lo. Senses are imposing on the mind, give me this, give me this, give me that. Mind is telling the intelligence, mind is subduing the intelligence. Oh, chalta hai, let's do this once a while. So intelligence will comply and the soul will suffer. They'll take all these three things will take the soul in the wrong direction. So our senses, which are impure, agitated, uncontrolled, and overactive, they are imposing on the mind to fulfill their wish, to fulfill their desire. And the mind, which has no control as it is untamed, uncontrolled, will overpower the intelligence, which is dull, which is not sharp, which is not active. And so intelligence will get convinced. So mind is getting convinced by the senses, and intelligence is getting convinced by the mind. And in this way, they will cause they'll cause destruction or ruin of the soul. They'll all lead soul in the wrong direction. So ये सारा this chain is reversed for the uncontrolled people, for people that are slaves of their senses. That's why we say go means senses, Swami means master, and Goswami is master of senses, whereas we are Godas, the slave of the senses. So we are slaves of the senses. So we have to control all these three things. And I will try to show you how to control all these three things. Then these are verses from Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says how senses are very strong, very impetuous, they are childlike, they are very uncontrolled, and they can forcibly carry away the mind. We just discussed, right? They can carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. So if somebody is not even endeavoring to control them, they're just completely lost case. So you have to withdraw. And then Krishna also gives this example of a tortoise. You should withdraw your senses from the sense objects, like tortoise draws its limbs from the shell. I will give you this example from our scriptures. This is a beautiful verse that comes in our scriptures, which says, the deer, the elephant, the moth, the fish, and the black bee, these five have died, being tied to one or the other of the five senses through their attachment. What then is in store for men who is attached to all these five? So it says that there are five examples given. Okay, please pay attention. Five jivas are being mentioned here. Okay, it says Kurang, Matang, Patang, Meen, and Bring. If you see the third and fourth line, Kurang, Matang, Patang, Meen, and Bring. Okay. Bring is bee or bhambara, Meen is fish, Patanga is a moth, Matanga is elephant, and Kurang is deer. Okay, these five animals or five living beings have met their death because they were attached to one particular sense. Okay, what was the deer attached to? Deer was attached to music through his ears. तो अगर किसी deer को control करना हो तो what do hunters do? They play very nice music, and the deer stops in his track and stands there. Okay, stands there and gets killed by the hunter. So deer is being controlled by his ears. Okay, he can be controlled by his ears. Elephant or matang, elephant gets controlled by his skin, by his touch. Does anyone know how elephant gets caught? Itna bada elephant, how do hunters catch him? What they do is, anybody knows?
I think they have a other part, like in the female part, abgender part of the elephant, just pass by and just touches the skin of the elephant, and then that elephant becomes matwala होकर के उसके पीछे पीछे भागता है.
Yes, the female elephant just barely touches. She runs past this elephant, barely touches, and leads him towards the ditch. And the elephant starts, like Prabhuji said, matwala, very nice word. He goes crazy and he starts running after that female elephant and falls into the ditch, which is covered by the grass and all by the hunters. And he falls into that ditch. So elephant gets crazy by the touch or skin. Moth is patang. You must have known this, that the fire attracts the patangas. So they enter into the fire and they die. They enter into the fire and the patang, moth, dies. So how is it getting attracted? By the color of the flame, by the eyes. Honeybee is the bring. Bring gets attracted, honeybee, by the smell of the lotus. She spends the whole day in the lotus, but she does not know that the lotus will close at night. Lotus closes at night and it gets suffocated inside and it dies. So it got attracted by the nose, by the smell of the lotus. It spent the whole day in the flower. The flower closed in the night and it died. And fish Fish gets attracted by the tongue. So they just have to hang a little bit of bait and they taste that bait, they get captured by the bait. So in this way, our scriptures mention this beautiful verse that all these animals were caught by just one sense organ that went astray, that went uncontrolled. So what to say of a person who is addicted to all their 5 sense organs? How is it possible that a man uses all their 5 sense organs will escape destruction? So somebody whose 5 sense organs are completely uncontrolled is definitely heading towards destruction. So then Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, this is continuation of the verses, one who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, is a man of steady intelligence. So you have to control your urges, your senses, and that is a sober person. Dhir Purush, Sthit Pragya. Surya Prabhu is saying something in the chat. Prabhuji, this is coming up. Yes, this the verse you mentioned right on the point. Prabhuji mentioned senses cause desire, contemplation leads to attachment. So Prabhuji, this is what I have on the screen now. So I have actually the same thing up there. So what happens is that's what all these advertising agencies do, right? They put something very luring on the screen and you start paying attention to it. So think about it. Let's say, for example, I say rasgulla, and I start focusing on it. I pay attention to it. Then by absorption in it, by continuously meditating or thinking on it, I develop desire, lust, or vague, uncontrolled urge, urgency to have it. I want rasgulla right now. And so what happens? ध्यायतो विषयन पुंसा, ध्यान करने से अटेंशन डालने से विषय पे, विषय मीन सेंस ऑब्जेक्ट पे अटेंशन डालने से क्या होता है? संग होता है. संगस्तेषोपजायते, संग का जन्म होता है, अटैचमेंट डेवलप होती है अटेंशन से. ध्यान देने से मतलब अटेंशन देने से अटैचमेंट डेवलप होती है. संगस्तेषोपजायते, संगात संजयते कामा, संग होने से, एब्जॉर्प्शन या अटैचमेंट होने से काम होता है, मतलब लस्ट. संगात संजयते कामा, काम मतलब लस्ट, लस्ट मतलब वेरी अनकंट्रोल्ड डिजायर टू एंजॉय समथिंग. कामा, कामा क्रोधो विजायते, काम जब वो काम पूरा नहीं होता, when that lust is not fulfilled, क्रोध होता है. क्रोधाद भवति सम्मोहा, दिस वेदही also mentioned, क्रोधाद भवति सम्मोहा, उस क्रोध से सम्मोहन होता है, like you become deluded, you lose touch with yourself, you become deluded, bewildered, confused. क्रोधात भवति सम्मोहा, सम्मोहात स्मृति विभ्रमा, you lose your memory, you lose everything that you have learned. स्मृति भ्रमशाद बुद्धि नाशो, then your intelligence gets destroyed, बुद्धि का नाश हो जाता है, and बुद्धि नाशो प्रणश्यति, बुद्धि नाश होने से you fall down, so your destruction happens. And why did it all happen? Because you started focusing on something, you started paying attention to something. So when there are things around you that you think you may get attracted to, the best policy is to just just walk away, just not absorb yourself in it, not contemplate on it, not attach yourself to it, because next step होने ही मत दो. ध्यान के बाद जो absorption या attachment हो रही है, संग मत होने दो. Like somebody has this a habit of, let's say, drinking, and you're trying to quit drinking, then don't hang out with people that are drinking. Don't go to bar, because even the smell of the alcohol, smell of wine or smell of alcohol is very strong actually. So even if that person comes anywhere close to the smell of the alcohol, they will want to drink. So don't talk about it, don't hang out with the people that drink, don't go to places where there is the smell of alcohol, where you can see it. Don't watch it on TV, in the shows where they are drinking, things like that. Avoid, right? Avoid. Sang mat hone do. Because until you're purified, as soon as you have that sang, you will fall down. All this will happen. So I'm just going back to Bhagavad Gita. And then Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, as a strong wind sweeps away boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence. So mind ko focus mat hone do on the sense object. Dhyayato vishayan mat hone do. Don't focus on the sense object. You think something has the power on you to deviate you, distract you. Don't engage with those things. Don't let those things be part of your lifestyle or your routine. So don't let the mind focus, because even one of the roaming senses which mind focuses on will take away a man's intelligence. Okay. Therefore, O mighty armed one whose senses are restrained from their objects is a man of steady intelligence. So this is just from, I'll just try to finish it off quickly. Austerity of speech, Prabhuji has already discussed. Bhagavad Gita 17.15 is the verse to read about this. Anudveg karam vakyam. Austerity of speech, Krishna says, means speaking truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating. And this is another verse from our scriptures which says, always speak the truth, but say it in a pleasant way. Don't utter harmful truth. Don't utter untruth, even if it is pleasant. This is the basis of the eternal religion. Eternal religion matlab Sanatan Dharma. Satyam bruvat priyam bruvat na bruvat satyam apriyam priyam cha na ritam bruvat esha dharma sanatana. So, so this speech has been mentioned many times. Pleasant speech has been mentioned. Vachovegam has been mentioned many times in our scriptures. So this is Prabhuji, Surya Prabhu, this is your answer here. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So there is a space. When you have that stimulus where you get angry or you speak, there is a speech ke liye or anger, dono ke liye aisa hai. There is a space. There is that pause you can take, and that is where lies our power to choose our response. So, and in that space is our growth and freedom. So it is described here like a loaded gun. Tongue is like a loaded gun. It will kill not only our enemies, but also it will kill our friends. It will destroy relationships. And words can cut very deep like swords. It can be a weapon or a medicine. So एक बड़ी beautiful saying है, शब्द शब्द सब कोई कहे, शब्द के हाथ ना पाँव, एक शब्द औषधि करे, एक शब्द करे 100 घाव. So those who understand Hindi, एक शब्द औषधि करे, it can be medicine, और एक शब्द करे 100 घाव. घाव मतलब injuries, it can really damage. Then it says, better to remain silent and be thought of as a fool than to speak and to remove all doubt. So if you're not sure about what you're speaking is beneficial, helpful, pleasing, non-agitating, then better stay quiet. Wise men speak because they have something to say. Fools speak because they have to say something. So be the wise man. When you say something, it should be of some substance, something substantial. So we should say right words with right spirit to touch the heart of others at the right time. This is Vaishnav conduct. This is applicable to devotees. No self-glorification. You can prolifically praise others, but without lying. ऐसे झूठ नहीं बोलते. That is not pleasing to other devotees. So you're saying, oh, आप तो भगवान ही हैं. ऐसा, that is not needed. That is, so without lying. So prolific praise of others, truly praise them, like truly praise the actual services and actual characters, actual personality, actual contributions and, traits that they have without lying. And no self-glorification. Express profuse gratitude and appreciation, no criticism, no sarcasm. Introspect more, internalize more, encourage other devotees, apply the rules on self, not others. Right? So this is, I think, things that devotees should know. And the main thing for devotees is to vibrate the names of Krishna as much as possible, to speak scriptures and verses and bhajans as much as possible. So refining this speech and controlling is the lifetime sadhana. This I have taken from Radheshyam Prabhu, I believe. Devotees are perfect gentlemen, gentle, considerate, sensitive, respectful, not loud, not aggressive, not duplicitous. And without enough shravanam, do not speak. Ravi Prabhu hit that point that we have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Also, Surya Prabhu said in the chat that we can close the mouth but not ears. Actually, people describe that before speaking, let's say 1 class, you should hear like 20 classes. Matlab, without enough shravanam, do not speak. So 90% of the time, 99% of this time should go in hearing. Give advice or preach if you're a representative of Krishna or of the Sampradaya. Ask questions from Vaishnava and render Vani Seva. So hear from Vaishnavas, ask questions submissively, humbly, and be very careful. Guru Maharaj says very many times, treat very carefully in spiritual circles. In spiritual circles with devotees, you have to be very careful because offenses can happen very quickly. So no backhanded comments, no passive aggressive comments like that. This is about mind. this is Lord Buddha saying the mind is everything. What you think you become. So mind has a lot of power. You may think I'm small, but I have a universe inside my mind. So our mind controls a lot of things. And there are three functions of mind: thinking, feeling, and willing. Okay, thinking, feeling, and willing. These are the three functions of mind. As you know, that our thoughts can become excessive, leads to overthinking. When mind is uncontrolled, it leads to overthinking, over emotional behavior, or excessive desires. Overthinking, over emotional, and over desirous. All those are functions of mind: thinking, willing, and feeling. Overthinking से क्या होता है? Overthinking leads to over imagination. People start imagining problems. They make problem bigger than the problem is. They create monsters in their heads, over complicating the situation, overthinking the intentions of people. We start creating stories to delude ourselves. All this happens from overthinking. So some people overthink. So making mountain out of molehill. Okay, that's not needed. That is an overactive mind. I have some things on the mind. I think we will do it next time because I don't want to keep speaking and it is an important topic. I just have few more slides left. Mind we will cover next time. Anger we have already covered, but mind is very important. Anger, I think we have covered. So I'll just stop here. I don't want to go into mind just yet. Just remember that there are three functions of mind: thinking, feeling, and willing. Some people overthink, over emotional, or over desirous. All of that is coming from uncontrolled mind. So we have to curtail mind in such a way that we are not overthinking our problems and making a mountain out of molehill. Over emotional, हर चीज पे बहुत ज़्यादा emotional हो जाना और बहुत ज़्यादा इच्छाएं होना. All this is coming from mind. We'll discuss that next time. I'll stop here. We just have 2-3 minutes more to go. Let's hear from everyone. I did not touch about Jiva Udarupas today because I think we will read Prabhupada's purport next time.
Mataji, I admired the point and also admired your effort and energy. And you just said, just to speak for 10 minutes. I mean, just to speak, you have to listen a lot. And I can see how many classes and how many lectures you've been listening to teachers every week consistently, whether you are in Jackson or in India or in your vacation. So that is really, 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 from the bottom of my heart, I'm saying that really, because I can understand speaking is like, because we're not going to talk any nonsense. So we have to talk really, and it's available everywhere. So you do really a very commendable job. I really dandavat Mataji. आप बहुत सुनते हो तभी जाके कुछ बोलते हो.
Thank
And
you.
that
Prabhu.
also in a nice fashion. कितना creatively आप सिखाते हो. Slide बनाना, ये करना. So this is really, we are really lucky that we
Prabhuji.
have a laborious person like you. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for attending these sessions. I'm just doing it for my own purification. It's not. I enjoy. Let's say I enjoy hearing. If there is one aspect of devotional service that I have developed attachment to, that's hearing and organizing the understanding from scriptures. So I don't have taste for any for. I wish I could have taste for Harinam and other aspects also. But thank you so much, Haribo. Any other realizations? We'll read Prabhupada's purport next time and finish off these slides also. Shiva Prasad Prabhu, you joined, I think, for the first time. Please share any realizations.
Next time, Mataji. Thank you. Namaskar.
Okay. Very bold, Surya Prabhu. If you want to share anything, Sheetal Mataji, Vinita, Namita Mataji, please share your reflections. These topics are unlimited. We have been taught from childhood, what to eat, what to speak, controlling anger, speech. It's still working on it, but hearing from scriptures is a whole different understanding typically. So Nagachand Prabhu, you want to share? Oh, Navya wants to share something. Navya has a poem about anger that she wants to share. Please share, Navya.
Okay, one second.
Nagachand Prabhu, if you have something, please share. And kids also.
Hare Krishna, now to all devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Just wanted to thank everybody who had prepared so nicely. Ravi Prabhu's presentation was just very, very exceptional, very nicely shared. So thank you, Prabhuji. And Vedi also covered a lot of good points, and it was very concise and to the point. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Ravi Shankar Prabhuji has done a lot of homework to speak on the topic. 3 cheers to him.
Hari Bol. We'll say 3 Hari Bols. For
Hari
Hari
Bol,
Bol, Hari Bol,
Hari
Hari Bol.
Bol.
हरि
Hari
बोल।
Bol.
तभी
Yes.
तो माता जी मैंने रियलाइज किया कि नारंगी माता जी जो एवरी वीक सिखाती हैं हम लोग को, कितना मेहनत लगता होगा, क्योंकि सुनने में टाइम, और हम लोग का टाइम भी लिमिटेड है ना, क्योंकि सब काम करना पड़ता है, घर भी देखो, काम भी देखो, फिर भक्ति भी देखो। तो इसमें इतना एक्सेल कर रही है माता जी। सो यही होता है, जब तक आप खुद को, इसलिए एम्पैथी इज सो इम्पोर्टेंट, यू नो, टू डेवलप द पर्सनालिटी। द टॉक अबाउट एम्पैथी इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट. We should always put ourselves in the shoes of other and see how things are going.
Hari Bol, Prabhuji. So I think that means ki next verse ke liye we should have 6 people ready to. Please think of who wants to speak. Abhi to time hai, 2 hafte hain, but we'll talk about it. Yes, Navya, please share.
I wrote a poem about anger recently, and I wanted to share it because that was part of our thing today. It's called Anger's Trap. If you live in this world's trap, you will often be stuck in anger's wrap. Perhaps you're angry at the person who sabotaged your art. From arguments to wars, anger can start. No one of this world can fully control it, but we should at least try not to have a fit. Anger is an emotion that makes us nearly blind. The right thing to do we cannot find.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari
Very
Bol.
nicely written. Very nice.
Wonderful. Good job. Okay,
Navya, I
yes.
want a copy of your poem if it is free.
Yes,
कितना
Prabhuji.
वर्ड, लुक एट द वर्ड्स एंड एवरीथिंग माता जी। भगवान जो है ना, सारा एक ही जगह पर लगता है, नॉटिंघम ड्राइव में नहीं, क्या है आपका, नॉर्थ पॉइंट में सबको जमा कर दिए हैं,
नहीं,
सारे बुद्धि को नॉर्थ पॉइंट में लाके रख दिए।
प्रभु जी सारा डिसिप्लिन आपके पास है. No, but all of us together, we will continue on this path. May Shri Shri Radha Gopi Jan Vallabh help us to not only just speak about them, but also to imbibe these qualities really in our life and practice this discipline of Vacho, Manasa, Krodh, Jiva, Udarupasthavegam in our life for real. And we make progress, we climb up the ladder, the steps, the stairs to the temple and get the darshan of the Lord. May our heart becomes that pure. May we attract the mercy of the Gurus, Vaishnavas, the Guru disciplic succession, and the Supreme Lord. Hari Bol. All those who agree with this prayer, please say Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
हरि बोल, हरि बोल।
Vancha kaltarubhyascha
Sarvabhyascha
kripa
kripa
sindhubhyascha
sindhubhyascha
patitānaṁ
patitānaṁ
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
Lord Chandra Radhikaya Dadale Hare.
कृष्णा कृष्ण भक्ताय तद भक्ताय नमो नमः। हरे
Hare
कृष्ण।
Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Do we want to talk